What's good, guys? Fantasy Joe back here with another fantasy football video. Today I'm breaking down my very early 2024 rankings right at the heels of an exciting 2023 regular season, concluding the fantasy football regular season as well. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I post off-season videos. Going to be taking a little bit of a break out after this one, but then we're going to be back full pace, dynasty rankings, all the updates, all the information you're going to need to stay up to date with fantasy football and beat your friends and family in fantasy football in 2024. Bring home that championship. We had a number of people message me about winning championships this year. Be the next. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. If you have any questions or comments, I will respond in the comment section down below as well. Fantasy football hotline, but let's hop into these rankings. These are half-point PPR. So number one, I've got Christian McCaffrey. I have him as the RB1. Scored about 100 points more than the RB2 this year. Absolutely ridiculous pace. And yeah, back in that offense game with Kyle Shanahan, you're going to bet on him, and he's the best running back in football. Two, Tyreek Hill. I have him as the wide receiver 1, even ahead of CeeDee Lamb, who edged him out just barely, but the points per game were very close for those two this year. Tyreek missed a game. And I do think CeeDee is a great receiver. Obviously, I have him down a little bit farther on the list, but I think this might just be CeeDee's about peak season right now with just the way that the targets went around, everything like that. I still think he's a locked and loaded top 5 guy. I kind of view Tyreek, Justin Jefferson, Jahmyr Chase, and CeeDee are all basically in the same tier to me, but Tyreek gives you those crazy explosive games. I think Justin Jefferson, I have him as a third player overall, on a wide receiver 2. The reason I have him there, we've seen him just dominate every single time he's been on the field. He played with Nick Mullins a lot at the end of this season. Still very productive for fantasy football, so I'm going to continue to bet on him. And I think Kirk Cousins will be back there. Obviously, there's a bit of projecting with these guys being such early in the rankings. A lot of this will change even 2 weeks from now as more reports come out. These rankings will look even different and way different as we get to the actual regular season, but want to give everybody an idea. Number 4, Jahmyr Chase. I just think when you look at all these unstable situations, he's got a stable one. Joe Burrow will be back. He'll be back. T. Higgins likely gone. Even bigger target portion for him. He's going to be that 180, 190 target wide receiver with his talent level and Joe Burrow's. That's a combination I want to bet on. CeeDee Lamb, he was a wide receiver 1 this year. Absolutely dominated. Great with Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. They had a really nice schedule over that second half of the season, and they did fantastic. I think he had 9 games in a row with a touchdown. Just an absolute incredible season. If you want to take CeeDee Lamb as your number 1 wide receiver, I wouldn't fault you at all. I think he's definitely in that number 1, number 2 conversation. So don't see it that much as a slight to have him wide receiver 4. I do think, though, personally, I would take Jahmyr Chase ahead of him for sure. And I already spoke on Hill and Justin Jefferson as well. Number 6, this is an interesting one. We got Kyren Williams. He's just been given such a heavy workload in the Sean McVay offense. In the offseason, they bring in another running back. My view could change, but this is right now. And Kyren was playing like 90% of snaps this year, just getting a ton of work, average almost 20 fantasy points per game. After Christian McCaffrey, it was him last year. Next up, even ahead Raheem Mostert on a per-game basis. So that is who I would take as number 2 running back if the season ended today. 7, another bit of projection, but Bijan Robinson have my RB3. Reason being, I think Arthur Smith held him back greatly. I think he had 214 rushing attempts this year. I think that number should be at least 260 in the 300 range this upcoming season as long as they get a competent offensive coordinator. He was using the passing game, and I think they'll continue to do that even more in year 2. Quarterback obviously would change this dramatically, but I think if they can upgrade the quarterback position, which I think almost anything would be better than Desmond Ridder, and as I spoke about Arthur Smith already, Bijan could be, if he's a 350 touch back, he could easily be the RB1 next season. 8, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Guy was a model of consistency, got a ton of targets this year, and just was putting about double-digit fantasy points up just about every game for the most part. I love the consistency that he provides. He's also capable of big games, even if they don't come as often as some of the other guys, but he does give you the consistency that I love. Number 9, A.J. Brown, wide receiver 6. Went down with that knee injury yesterday. I don't think that's long-term, but we will find out more. Obviously, that could change some things, but A.J. Brown was dominant. Very close to putting him above Amon-Ra St. Brown. But yeah, that's where I have things currently. But yeah, A.J. Brown is a difference maker and a top 5 wide receiver. I guess I have him at 6, but even when you rank guys, it's like who has a chance of finishing top 5 is what I usually look at when I'm looking at these top guys. I think A.J. Brown has as good a chance as almost anyone. Number 10, Jonathan Taylor. I have him as the RB4. Thought about ranking him even a little bit lower, to be honest, because Anthony Richardson will be the starter this upcoming season, and hopefully he'll last a little bit longer than he did this season. But Jonathan Taylor, I just don't know if he'll catch all those passes. That's why I was a little bit more worried about him. Not that he caught a ton this year. He had a good amount of receptions comparatively, and I do worry about that a little bit, though, with Anthony Richardson profile moving forward. But it was a league better than we thought in the check down department. If Anthony Richardson can upgrade this offense, I think Jonathan Taylor's a difference maker at the running back position, and they will run it with him a good amount. Obviously, he signed that contract extension. Number 11, Jahmyr Gibbs. He runs behind a great offensive line. He's going to catch the ball. He's not going to be worked into the offense slowly like he was last year at the beginning. David Montgomery, I fully expect to still be a big part of the offense, goal line back, but Jahmyr Gibbs, we saw him score 11 touchdowns this season. He can easily do that again and even more. I think there's very bright days ahead for Jahmyr Gibbs in fantasy. Number 12, Breece Hall, RB6, finished very high this season. Aaron Rodgers likely back. He had a ton of receptions this year, which he could easily have next season as well. It's in his skill set, but I think he's 74. That's a pretty high number, and I worry about the offensive line. But that said, the offense should be a lot better. I like Breece Hall a lot. A year removed from that ACL injury, I'd be very happy to get him in the first round. Number 13, I have Puka Nacua, finishes the wide receiver 4 this year. Obviously, a lot of those games without Cooper Kupp, but we'll see how this offseason shakes out. I expect Kupp to be there, but Puka was just so good as a rookie. You got to bet on these guys when they're young. There's a lot of reason to say, this guy, Jalen Waddle in his year 1 to year 2, a lot of people were naysaying him about how good the production was his rookie year. Then Tyreek's coming. Will he be able to continue to produce? Puka Nacua has already done it with him on the field as well. And then Jalen Waddle in that year took a massive jump as well. Puka, like I said, performed while Cooper Kupp was there. I have no reason he can't continue to do that this upcoming season. 14, James Cook. He's the RB7. I'm going to get into some things about the Buffalo Bills offense here in a little bit. Let me just pull up the list. You don't see Stephon Diggs yet. I think he is on the list. I'm almost positive. But I don't think Stephon Diggs returns to Buffalo this offseason. Obviously, I think that depends in part how the offseason does, but this is a projection. I think things, there's tumult, obviously, in that situation with Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and the Buffalo Bills. So I think James Cook could be featured even more, and he's already coming off a fantastic season. A little bit more work for him, and he is a fantasy football all-star. 15, Saquon Barkley, the RB8, was very good on a per-game basis. It'll be very interesting to see where he goes. He is a free agent this season. The Giants could bring him back, I believe, on a tag. I don't know if they'll do that, if Saquon will hold out. There's a whole lot of things to be decided, but I think wherever Saquon Barkley goes, I think there'll be a significant enough financial investment in him that he will continue to receive the ball in high volume. And if he goes to a good offense, something like that, a better offensive line, obviously the Giants were putrid this year, he could be fantastic. 16, Travis Etienne Jr. He had a great year this year. I do think the team might bring somebody else in or Tank gets more work. He just trailed off a decent amount towards the end of the year on his efficiency numbers. That would worry me. But I really like the talent of Travis Etienne. I like the workload that he got. I just wonder what they're going to do around him this offseason. 17, Garrett Wilson. I have as a wide receiver 8. He is getting Aaron Rodgers back. The talent, it was there. I expect him to be very good for fantasy football, and he's drafted very similar to where he was last year so far in these rankings. 18, Josh Jacobs. I have as an RB10. He's another guy, unrestricted free agent, but wherever he goes, it will likely be a significant financial investment in him that will necessitate that he gets a high amount of touches. Obviously, there's not, then he'll go down the rankings, but the way I profile things right now, I think those guys will both get paid. 19, Stephon Diggs. I think he's going to be in a new place. Where that place is will obviously determine a lot about him, his fantasy value. I don't know if he can go to a place necessarily that's better than Buffalo, but maybe he goes to a Green Bay Packers. I think that's unlikely, but there's wide receiver needy teams out there that have some good quarterbacks. Not a ton of them, honestly, especially if you want to go somewhere with an elite guy. But maybe the Chargers make a trade for somebody like that. Maybe there's teams out there, is my point, that have situations ambiguous wide receiver situations. Number 20, I have Deebo Samuel. He looks like he was just playing on another speed like he was that 1 year. Really much the second half of this season to me. I'd be very happy to draft him in the second round. He's one of those guys. He's just going to get enough touches that he's going to be fine and he's going to score touchdowns and he's going to score a lot of points. So I bet on Deebo Samuel again in this upcoming season. Number 21, DJ Moore. I don't think Justin Fields is going to be the quarterback next year, but I think DJ Moore can thrive regardless. We saw him be dominant this last year. I think if he continues to get a large target share, which he should, he's one of the better wide receivers in football, and I have him in my top 24. Number 22, Devontae Adams. Another very wait-and-see situation at the quarterback position, but Devontae I still see as a difference maker as far as wide receiver goes. Isaiah Pacheco, I have him as the RB11. He was really good this year, and they could go out and get somebody, but with all the holes they have, I imagine that Isaiah Pacheco will be the guy coming back. He was a good running back this season, and I profile him to be good again if he's using the same role in the Kansas City offense, which should be more potent next year. You got to imagine they're going to go out and try to upgrade their receiving options for Patrick Mahomes in that offense. And number 24, I have Rachaad White. Not very efficient on the ground, but caught a ton of passes this year and had a ton of volume. Another situation where we'll see they could go out and draft a back, and he could be a fourth-round pick, fifth-round pick, and he finished, as a top 10 running back this season. I think he might be an RB7, but very good year for Rachaad White this season and a high fantasy football finish. Alrighty, let me know who you guys think I left off, who should have been higher, who should have been lower, down in the comments down below. This was my top 24 for 2024. Hit me up in the comments. Like I said, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. This has been Fantasy Joe. Thank you guys for watching.